Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for joining. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So, today's class will be a continuation of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, verse 21 onwards, Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarka. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavam Statra Bandhunam Bharanam Anuvartinam Yata Vidyupasambhamya Sarve Sambhana Adade. Translation. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, approached them and offered their due honor and respects to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens, and others who came to receive and welcome him. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is neither impersonal nor an inert object unable to reciprocate the feelings of his devotees. Here the word yata vidi, or just as it behooves, is significant. He reciprocates just as it behooves with his different types of admirers and devotees. Of course, the pure devotees are of one type only because they have no other object for service but the Lord. And therefore, the Lord also reciprocates with such pure devotees just as it behooves. Namely, he is always attentive to all the matters of his pure devotees. There's others who designate him as impersonal, and so the Lord also does not take any personal interest. He satisfies everyone who comes to one's development of spiritual consciousness. An example of such reciprocation is given here with his different welcomes. In the Gyan Kumiranda Dwa, Gunajana Saraka, Taksu in the Vitamyana, Tasmai Shru Guruvanaha, Ima in Vishnu Bhadana, Krishna first in the Imat Bhakti Vedam Taksu. Namaste Saraswati Deva, Veda and Mukhachari. Really so Sindhavai, Vanshakota to read this, Eureka Sindhu, Toribata, Kapitanam, Bhavanidyo, Vaishnavidyo, and the Holy Vaishu Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Yeyatam tvam bhaktyante tam stutaiva brajamyaham mama vartmana vartante manusha partha sarvashikam. As they approach me, Krishna says, I respond accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. O son of Kunti, speaking to Arjuna. The Lord is a person. There are many who want to worship the Lord, but in an impersonal way. Yatanti tat vad vidya jnanam adayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavani sabdite. The absolute truth is divided into three, but it remains one. It is still one because you cannot divide spirit. Spirit is not dividable. But for the sake of interaction, it is explained in variegated aspects of itself, such as the jiva and the Supreme Lord. Both are pure spiritual energy, and they're not dividable, but at the same time, they appear to be different. So in this understanding, there is a class of people who want to worship the Lord in his Brahman aspect. They are jnanis, yogis, and various types of tapasis. Most of their activities are based on personal gain. And they're trying to get something through worshiping of the spiritual nature. They're trying to get liberation, freedom from material suffering, knowledge, detachment, various types of aspects. But they don't get Krishna because Krishna can only be approached by devotional service. As a person in this material world reciprocates according to how you approach them, generally. This is just using an analogy. Same the way with Krishna. He's there as a person. And devotional service allows us to personalize our relationship with Krishna, which is the essence of the absolute truth. As we mentioned, it's divided into three categories. And that those who want to merge into the bodily effulgence of the Lord, those who want to worship him as the indwelling supersoul within the hearts of all living beings, Antaryami, and those who want to reciprocate in a loving way as the personality of Godhead. Obviously, just like you can go to work and you can do your work. So the boss is there, but you don't reciprocate with the boss, but the boss is connected with the work you do. So in that sense, you are connected with the boss, but not directly through the work that you do. Or you may also see the boss doing different things around the environment where you're working, but you don't have a relationship with him directly. You just watch what he does, and he may also be there. So that's more elevated than working, because you can actually see him. But then again, if you talk to him directly, then that's the complete relationship. So in the same way, these are all gradations of spiritual relationships. But Krishna is a person, and therefore, for devotees, they want to reciprocate with him in that aspect of his personality. There are many people, in fact, the majority of people who practice some form of spirituality do not worship the Lord as a person, because there's a commitment there. That commitment, one has to serve the Lord in a way that is pleasing to the Lord. And they don't want to follow any rules and regulations as far as relationships concerned. They want to do what they want in the name of spiritual practice. And they follow certain aspects of rules and regulations, but it's all about getting something, some gain from them. Therefore, it says that the non-devotees, karmis, they want to enjoy the energy of the Lord without the Lord. The tapasis, the jnanis, they want to merge into the bodily effulgence of the Lord and get some freedom from material suffering. The yogis, they want knowledge, and so they worship the Supreme Lord as the indwelling aspect, and they get knowledge and also detachment. But the devotees, they get loving relationships with the Lord, which is the essence of the soul's relationship with the Supreme. So unless one comes to that relationship with the Lord, and you might say, well, I'm there, but are you really there? The question is, what kind of relationship do you have with the Lord? Do you use him just to fulfill your desires? Or do you actually try to search him out, find out what his activities are, glorify his activities, speak to others those glorifications, and find different ways by which you can offer your time, energy, intelligence, words, even and your entire life in order to please him. So there's different ways, and ultimately the highest is to serve Krishna with love. And so that's a developed consciousness that comes by hearing more and more about the Lord. As we hear more about the Lord, we learn more about his nature, and that hearing process awakens our attraction for the Lord. Like it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srinvata Swakata Krishna, Purnya Shravana Kirtanaha, Vidyanto Sto Abhadrani, Vidyanoti Suhit Satam. And one who is eager to hear and chant the glories of the Lord within the heart of that personality personally cleanses away material attachment. And gradually the devotee becomes fixed in devotional service and is free from all of the anxieties that come with activities that are performed in the material sense. In other words, no lamentation, no hankering, no fear, no illusion. And so here you can see when Krishna was personally present, he, I think in some of the previous verses, it's mentioned how he reciprocated with each and every person. And it's very sweet because the Lord honors the etiquette of relationships. He'll reciprocate with people who are less than him by smiling and accepting their respect. And people who are equal, he embraces them. And people who are superior to him, of course no one is, but in that role of playing the son, the friend, the roles he plays in the material world, he reciprocates according to that role. And therefore he may honor and worship that person in that mood. So that's Krishna. He's very personal and very loving in his personal relationships. So the majority, we have to be careful. Sometimes devotees have a tendency to go everywhere elsewhere to get spiritual knowledge from various types of yogis. But you don't see what their actual motivation is. Most of the time, they don't worship the Lord or don't even acknowledge the Lord in his personal teaching. It's all about getting peace, getting some kind of material gain from the worship, becoming, also developing mystic power, which is a more higher form of impersonal attainment. So all of these things ultimately leave one in the material world, or even if one climbs to the impersonal perfection, Aruna Krishna Padam Padam Padantiyada. Because they don't worship the Lord in his personal feature, they fall down again into the material world and take up material activities. So be careful, not be careful, stay away and try to hear only from Srila Prabhupada and the representatives of Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, it sounds very good, a lot of these impersonalists, because they know how to present the knowledge in a way that is different than actually is. They're expert in doing that. And they have a motivation. They're looking for followers. They're looking for remunerations in the form of, financial or pecuniary gain. So their motive, they have motive. But the devotees of the Lord who are following Srila Prabhupada, the only motivation is to engage people in the science of loving devotional service to the Lord. So the more we learn about the Lord by hearing about the Lord in his activities with here, just like we're hearing about it here, how he honors and respects everyone, friends, relatives, citizens, and others. Although he is respectable and he is the worshipful object of everyone, still he reciprocates accordingly. And that's Krishna. He's very personal. And he wants to have a personal relationship with us. So we should try, in order to do that, we should hear more about him, go to the temple and see him in the form of his deity, offer prayers to him, pray to him, to engage in his devotional service, and associate with his devotees, because all of this helps us to awaken our attachment to Krishna in his personal form. And once that's awakened to a certain degree, then one is fixed in all activities of devotional service, and one does not hanker, one does not lament, one is satisfied, because the goal of life is love. And when that loving relationship develops, even in a small form, just like when you plant a flower, you start off with the seed, and you put the seed in the ground, make sure the ground is fertile, and then you water it, you protect it from being destroyed, and then you gradually cultivate it. And then as it grows, you'll start seeing different greeneries developing. At one point, there's a bud, but there's still no flower. So our bhakti is like that. It's like a seed planted by the spiritual master in the heart of the devotee. And that watering process is hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Srinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. Chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord are the way to awaken our attraction for the Lord, and at the same time, that attraction is awakened in proportion to how much we become purified from our material desires. So the hearing process does both. It awakens our attraction because we learn about Krishna. We develop an attraction by what we learn about from Krishna, because Krishna is all attractive. Everything he does is very, very sweet and very attractive and very, very unique. There's no one like Krishna. He's unique in a very wonderful way. And at the same time, the heart's becoming purified. So this is the process of bhakti. And it says here, as we become attentive to him, he also becomes attentive to his devotees. And if one reaches the stage of pure devotion, then he takes a personal interest always for his devotee. He makes sure that the pure devotee gets everything they need to live in this material world. He arranges everything for the pure devotee so he can engage in his devotional service. And if the pure devotee has any difficulty, the Lord is there to help him overcome the difficulty. So it's a very personal relationship. So the soul is pure, but the soul has been contaminated by the association of matter. And that association is the designations we apply upon ourselves. We think we are a man, we think we are a woman, we think we are from this particular culture or nationality. We think in terms of our material designations and our material activities. But none of these are superfluous and actually ephemeral to our actual existence as pure spirit soul. So as a pure spirit soul, we have that eternal loving relationship with the Lord, but through the process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, and gradually the pure spiritual essence becomes more and more awakened and directed towards the Supreme Lord, and that is the perfection of life. And then one becomes happy, and one becomes fully engaged in loving service to the Lord. Okay, so we can stop there. I'm still here. We'll continue with your questions.
Thank you, Maharaj, for this wonderful session on the principles of reciprocation, because there are so many finer points here, and thank you for this enlightenment. So, dear devotees, okay, I would appreciate if you can turn on your cameras. Thank you, Shilpesh Prabhu, to make it more personal and also more interactive if you can. And when Maharaj comes, if you have any questions, comments, or realizations, please share, please ask.
In here, just ask your questions.
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes, please go ahead and ask your questions. Maharaj, I have a question whilst the devotees turn on the cameras and get online. The principle of reciprocation, there's so many statements in Bhagavatam and so many lectures where we said that Lord is impartial. And everything is on the principles of reciprocation. And when the devotees are in an advanced stage, the Lord reciprocates. But then, so I'll give you an example, Maharaj. I went to my hometown, Surat, and I met a devotee I've heard of a devotee family from another sampradaya. And the person was saying that she's married into that family. And they were saying that my in-laws are very much devoted to Lord Krishna. They worship it very, very devoutedly. And many times the elder members of the family would say that Krishna, they can smell what Krishna wants to eat, and then they would make the preparations accordingly. So Krishna is reciprocating in my view, but then how do we know it is real, or it's just your mental imagination and you are really imagining those things? So how do we distinguish this?
How do you know whether Krishna is reciprocating? He says he does. We have to believe him. He says, as you approach me, I reward you accordingly. So he's not just saying these things. This is his mood. When he says he's reciprocating, he is reciprocating. But then if you want him to personally appear in your room to eat the food, well, you might have to develop a little bit more bhakti than in order for that to manifest. But he's there. Yeah. And he's also indicates himself in many times. There are many personal examples of how the devotees have reciprocated with the Lord and can feel satisfaction in the heart as soon as they offer something to the Lord, because they feel that the Lord has been pleased by their offering. And sometimes when the offering is not made so nice, there's a feeling of like, I didn't come up to the standard. I didn't do it nice. I wasn't attentive. I could have offered it in a more devotional way. So you're getting an experience as you're doing the activity, as long as you're paying attention to the activity. If you're not paying attention, then your mind will be somewhere else, and your activities will be somewhere else. Now you have to, when you pay attention, then you can start to feel the reciprocation In other words, when your mind is focused on the activity, then it's an experience. And many devotees have had experiences. We also see that even when they offer something to the Lord on the altar, there is a satisfaction that comes with that. And then sometimes the Lord even responds by eating the food. One time he drank the milk during the Chaturmasya, during the milk fast time. That was many years ago. So he's there. If you don't believe him, then that's another thing, but he's there.
Okay, Maharaj. So Maharaj, if we feel satisfaction, like I do my morning transfer service and many times I feel very satisfied with it. So does it mean Krishna is reciprocating in a way that he likes this, he liked that service today or on that particular day?
Prabhupada said, because you are part and parcel of Krishna, when Krishna is satisfied, you'll be satisfied. If you're not feeling satisfaction, that means the offering wasn't pleasing, or whatever you do wasn't up to the standard. Yeah. Yeah, that question comes up a lot. How do we know when Krishna's pleased? Prabhupada said, when you're pleased.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. So we've got more cameras now online, smiling faces. So I'm sure they have questions, realizations, and I'm sure you have personal experience of realization or reciprocation. So please share and ask questions. Thank you. So Maharaj, this is another etiquette question or thought that I had for some time. Krishna is addressing and reciprocating. Krishna, when the Dwarkavasis approached and greeted Krishna, they reciprocated, Krishna reciprocated according to his relations or these devotees' relations with him. And obviously, to superior, he basically bowed down, offered obeisances and things like that. So in our dealings, when coming from an Indian background, whenever there's an elder, we will always refer that person either by a title or a name and a title, rather than just by name. Now that's just the culture that we have, or I was brought up with. But and in the devotee circle, we also see most of them saying the name and, for example, Dinanath Prabhu or Shruti Dharma Prabhu. But quite often we also then see them just repress the juniors addressing the seniors just by name and being very friendly. So is it also something, I would like your view, Maharaj, that I know it depends on relationships, but and it's also a matter of etiquette there as well.
Yeah, as soon as you lose respect, then whatever way you address, it's not going to work. The respect is the element which allows the relationship to begin and develop. If you become a little bit less formal in your way of approach, that may be allowed depending on the personality. So you can't say that everybody has the same relationship with the same person in the same way. So one person may have a relationship with a particular person that's more formal, and others may have it in a less formal way.
But Maharaj, even if it's somebody is a junior by age and also by practice, I've seen many times them approaching the senior devotees just by names. So that's why it kind of bothers me sometimes.
Well, the alternate is their position. Senior devotees, if you call them Maharaj or Swami, no, not Swami, but Maharaj. What else can you? We address ladies as mother, Mataji. Well, we find even Western ladies don't like to be called Mataji. They think it's something that is too ordinary, or I don't know. Sometimes they don't. So sometimes we refer to the ladies according to their name, as opposed to calling them Mataji because they don't want to be called Mataji. But Indian ladies, when you call them Mataji, it's a respect. They really appreciate it because they understand the meaning of it. And that's what Prabhupada taught. Instead, we call each other Prabhu, and we call ladies Mataji. You can also call the ladies Prabhu also, because Prabhu simply means master. And that etiquette is allowed within the circle of Vaishnavas and not outside. You can't call people outside Prabhu. It doesn't work. So there is an etiquette of address, but we keep the formality, which allows for respect to manifest. But we can also lose the respect even with applying the formality. So yeah, we get a little ordinary, but we shouldn't be ordinary in our relationship. As soon as we lose respect for another person, we minimize their importance or their actual existence. So respect always has to be there. In all reciprocations, no matter what terminologies you use. Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Namrata Mataji, had your hand raised. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. My question is, when Krishna reciprocates, devotees are at different levels of bhakti. So sometime at a neophyte level, if the reciprocation is not goody type of reciprocation, then how does the devotee understand or recognize the well-wishing of Krishna?
Let's see if I understood that. Can you rephrase it?
Okay. So when being on different levels of bhakti, so especially my question is about the neophyte practitioners, that when Krishna reciprocates them, it's not always that it will be, in a goody good way. The reciprocation can be a little harder to them. So how does one recognize that and accept it as Krishna has given it?
He's equal to everyone. He even says that. I'm equal to everyone. I envy no one. So how we perceive his reciprocation doesn't mean that is the nature of the reciprocation. He's always acting for the benefit of everyone. Always. Even if he kills the demon, that's the best thing for that demon. If he neglects a devotee for some reason, there's a reason why. If you don't accept the all good nature of the Supreme Lord, then you will see how the apparent reciprocation or lack of reciprocation is seen in a material way. But it's not. There's nothing material about Krishna's reciprocation with his devotee. If he allows, even if he has to chastise them, it's for their benefit. Ignores them, that's for their benefit. He fails to fulfill their desires for their benefit. But unless you accept Krishna as being perfect and always, as he says, I'm equal to all. I envy no one. I'm not partial to anyone. He says that word. I'm not partial to anyone. So, and again, as you approach him, he's going to reciprocate. Sometimes he goes beyond the reciprocated approach in order to give a little extra or maybe respond in a different way. Krishna's perfect.
Sir Guru Maharaj,
We have to understand how that perfection is manifested in our own life.
I would kindly like to ask, what is going beyond reciprocation? I didn't understand this term.
Well, he may, yeah, Prabhupada used to say, what can you give with Krishna that he's taking with 10? And what can you hold in 2 hands that he's giving with 10? In other words, you know, he can give you much more than you put out, and he that's his prerogative if he wants to do that. He's a person, and a person doesn't work in a form. Don't try to formalize Krishna into a particular category and see that, you know, he's like mechanical. You plug in this way and you plug in that way, and everything comes out the same way. No. He's a person. But he always reciprocates in the best possible way for the benefit of the devotee or for the upliftment of the devotee. He told the gopis, I can't reciprocate your love. It's not possible. Napareham. He says, you know, you simply have to be satisfied with your own loving relationship with me. I cannot really reciprocate the quality of your love. He's taking a position. He's saying that your love is so great, I can't repay it. Beyond my ability to repay it. Too late now.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. That quite clarifies what I wanted to hear. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Raj Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Maharaj, please can you explain how can we accelerate the development of our personal loving relationship with the Lord? Because sometimes it feels like it's just progressing quite slowly and we feel a bit impatient and want to do things to accelerate it.
Yeah, I'll be right back with the answer.
Thank you.
Oh, you make up that little bowl, get it done. This is not. Why don't you make that same golden ball? I could do the same thing you made yesterday. This is not what I want. All you gotta do is take the food out of it. That's the gold bowl as you did yesterday, and just give it. You made this for me, I didn't do it. I would have said, all this is all. Bring it over. All right. Somehow or other, I got diverted and I lost the question. So please repeat.
Okay. Right. Sometimes it feels like that our personal loving relationship with the Lord is only developing very slowly and feel impatient. So is there anything that we can do to accelerate this relationship?
Yeah, it's easy. Just chant Hare Krishna all the time. Satatam kirtayantam. Go to the kirtans and stay in it. Don't come back. Don't come out. Kirtan's the fast track. Provided you're in the right mood, that is. If you're doing 10%, do 20. That means you accelerated 10%. If you're doing 30%, do 50. Increase your activities in devotional service, and you'll also speed up that relationship. And when you're 100% engaged in devotional activity, then there's no question of being patient anymore. You're constantly in that mood of reciprocation. And you're satisfied. How much time do we give to Krishna? And how much time do we give to other things? Look at it from that way.
Thank you, Maharaj.
That was a pretty weak response. Like, oh no, not that bad.
Yes,
Sridhar
Maharaj.
Mataji.
Being patient means being engaged. If you're always engaged, you're satisfied with the service. You're not even looking for anything. Just like we were celebrating the disappearance day of Jayananda just 2 days ago. And so one thing he said, devotees would come up to him and they would say, Jayananda, how do you make advancement in devotional service? He would say, I don't know. I'm too busy engaged in doing things. I don't know. He was so busy, absorbed in devotional service when they asked him, how do you make advancement? He said, I don't think about that.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Prabhu. Sridhar Mataji, if you have a question, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dinesh Prabhu. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Guru Maharaj, I'm still, digesting what you answered to Namrata, because sometimes we don't understand the reciprocation. Krishna does things that are sometimes inexplicable, or to us it seems palatable, or no, this is not what I want. But then you accept it because you understand Krishna is all good, and whatever is happening is actually for your good, even though you don't like what is happening. So how we can ultimately see that this was for my good? How do we actually see that ultimately?
It is. but you have to also understand it in a way that you can benefit from it. Why does Krishna do what he does? Maybe he's giving us some detachment from some material attachment. Maybe he's forcing us to become more dependent on him. Maybe he's trying to awaken certain types of knowledge and understanding. So there is that element where you have to understand when something is happening the way it's happening, the question is why? And then you search out the answer through your intelligence, through surveying the experience, or maybe asking others. But the principle remains the same, that it's actually beneficial, although you may not see it that way. You have to take some time to figure it out. If you observe the reaction, you can understand what causes the reaction to happen in the way it did. All you do is observe your actions, and then you can see the reaction through that. What was my mentality? How did I reciprocate? And Krishna gives you a chance to become more detached and more advanced by putting you in a situation that challenges your way of doing things. You could get angry because it's not happening the way you want. You can become somewhat unhappy because it's not happening the way you want. Or you can see what is there about the situation that you can benefit. And even if there's no apparent benefit, try to understand that, it has a reason. As Prabhupada said, this movement is for those who are intelligent. If you're not intelligent, you'll be confused. So take the intelligence given by the Guru, by the Shastra, by Krishna, and use it. Intelligence is available through the medium of through either Guru, Shadow, and Shastra.
Association is so important for navigating through all the different things that happen to us. And in association only, we learn about Krishna.
Yeah, and when you don't take association, all your attachments stay with you. No, you can't get rid of them by yourself. When you're in association, that association helps you to see your attachments and ultimately to overcome your attachments. That's why association is the foundation for the execution of all activities in bhakti. Sadhusanga, sadhusanga. That's why we establish temples, we have programs, we're not bhajan and nandis, we just stay by ourselves and read and chant. That's not our mood. We look for association. And the association is available because as a society, we're very active in doing things. so active, sometimes you have no time to even, or somebody you can't even decide where you should go next. So many opportunities. Yeah, Prabhupada has really established this society in a very wonderful way. Temples, farm communities, restaurants, home programs, so many things. For instance, in London, or in the UK, and generally in London, you know, every night of the week you can find programs somewhere, association somewhere. Temples are open. Our temples are open all the time. You can always go for morning programs, evening programs, go for prasadam programs. Association is so readily available in our society.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any other comments, realizations, please? You can ask, or you can also put it in the chat window and I can read it out for you.
Go ahead, Revati.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna Guru. So my question is about Lord is personal, and the Lord reciprocates according to the mood. So, so my understanding is like Lord is personal means that you're communicating with the Lord through consciousness. So, in order to experience that personal relationship means that you're reaching out to Him through your consciousness. Right, Guru Maharaj, if I understand it.
Well, that's one way. Whether you speak or don't speak, he hears you, but he can offer prayers, audible prayers also. That's another way of, prayer is a very direct way to connect with the Lord. So we offer prayers. In fact, practically our whole movement is based on prayers. Read the Bhagavatam, you'll find there's so many categories of people offering prayers to the Lord. In fact, the whole Bhagavatam is mostly just prayers. So that those prayers are ways to communicate with the Lord.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah. So, Guru Maharaj, when we read the Srimad Bhagavatam also, when we hear the classes, we feel very much connected to Lord. So that means we are trying to establish that personal relationship with the Lord, because we develop that mood to associate more and more with the Lord. So that means we are trying to establish the relationship with the Lord whenever we are in, like, reading Bhagavatam or like hearing and all that.
Did you come to the seminar in New Vrindavan? Well, you were there, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So we explained how the process works through the different stages of bhakti. As you go through the stages, the intensification of the relationship is increased.
Yes, all the process.
So understand what stage you're on and what stage you need to move forward. What you need to move forward to the next stage.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, yes. Yeah, I was there, yeah.
Yeah. But Krishna is there with you all the time. He's in your heart. You talk to him.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Can I request?
I'm listening.
Yes. Oh, I was going to request Maharaj that to adjust the screen, the camera, so we can see your full face, Maharaj. At the moment, it's cutting on the top side.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
We're working on it.
Maharaj, I want to make a comment about a statement that you made, which I really like, which is Krishna is a person. So don't expect the same type of reactions from him. It's not like a machine or a plugin that you have inputs and then you will expect the same outputs. And why? Because he's a person, and that's very nice. I like that.
Well, as he says, we've quoted the verse many times today. Yayatam mam prapadyante tataiva bhajami aham.
Yes, Maharaj.
That's a very important verse. As you approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. The non-devotees approach him through the external energy, which is his energy, and therefore they get the reciprocation in the same way. But they don't get reciprocation directly from Krishna. They get it from his material energy, which is working under his direction. So he's reciprocating with everyone, either directly or indirectly. For the devotees, it's direct. But for the non-devotees, it's through the material energy.
Nothing Prabhupada made a very wonderful statement as well, Maharaj, that he takes personal interest, but he's also very attentive to his devotees. And to the non-devotees, not that attentive. He will delegate the task to somebody else. But to the devotees, he's very attentive. And that's very nice.
His energies work accordingly. But for his devotees, it's very personal. That's why, well, I think that one verse we read just recently. The relationship between the master and servant is very intimate. I'm trying to think where that verse is. I just read it recently. Yeah, I can't think of the actual verse right now, but it's a very personal, intimate relationship with the Lord. The Lord is seeing you're sacrificing your time, your energy, whatever else he's giving you for his service. He's there. If you want to make an experiment to find out how much he's there, just stop chanting for a couple of days and you'll know. You'll see by default. But I wouldn't recommend you do that. That's for those who can't learn any other way.
Thank you, Maharaj. Shilpesh Prabhu, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I just wanted to comment, it's a wonderful class today, a lot of insights and realizations. I just wanted to say I've really missed your personal presence in the last week, so it's really good to see you again, Maharaj, and have your personal association. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy you're still there. Keep coming. Please continue. I've been requested to give a class on how to give a class. So we'll pick a day and then Srimati will announce it. My desire is that each and everyone should come to the level of being able to speak the philosophy. And so sometimes we need a little pattern to work with. So there's a way that we can present this knowledge that is somewhat systematic and somewhat effective. We'll do that. We'll have to choose a day though. Okay, if there's nothing else.
Maharaj, there's a question from Elenia Mataji on the chat. I'll read it out. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita 4.34, it is said that it is important to approach an authentic spiritual master and make an effort not only to listen to him, but to understand his instructions. When by circumstances we meet other spiritual masters or advanced devotees who gives us other instructions in order to help us, but we are even more confused, how should we behave towards them so as not to offend them? Thank you.
Well, a wife has a husband, and she may also have someone else in her life that also is her well-wisher, but she'll center everything around her husband because that's the main person. So whatever you hear from another person has to complement what you hear from your spiritual master. If it doesn't, then you should reject it. That's why we have to hear regularly from the spiritual master. So we know when we hear from somebody else, we have something to reference from. We don't reference whatever we hear from other sources with what we get from our spiritual master, then we will be confused. If it's the same thing said in a different way, then we can appreciate that. But if it's something different, you have to, as the wife stays chaste to the husband, so in the same way, the disciple stays chaste to his or her spiritual master.
Thank you, Maharaj. And Elena Mataji, I hope that answers your query. Maharaj, there's a quick question here, if you would be okay to take one last one.
Yeah.
Okay. It's from Janava Mataji. I would like to know what is the difference between equal and impersonal reciprocation with Krishna from our perspective.
Equal and impersonal reciprocation. Well, impersonal reciprocation is not really reciprocation because reciprocation is based on personality. It's just like you may talk about somebody to someone else, but you're not talking or you're not relating to the actual person. Although you might be referring to the other person through another person, you're not with the person you're referring to. That's impersonal. That's an example only. Equal means to reciprocate according to how the person is approaching. That's it. If you want something from Krishna, but you don't pay any attention to him, then he may not reciprocate, or he may reciprocate in a way that is different than what you actually, desire. So reciprocation is personal. Impersonalism is not reciprocation.
Thank you, Maharaj. We have two questions. Are we good for time, Maharaj?
Oh, still here.
So, Prema Bhakti Prabhuji, please go ahead and ask the question.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
You won't see me, but I'm here unmanifested, but manifested at the same time.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my obeisance. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, beautiful class, I like. I'd like to just say one thing about, I was reading in Krishna book about how Krishna manifested his Vishnu form and the gopis were looking for him. And the gopis said, "Where is Krishna? Where is my Krishna?" And Vishnu, Krishna at the time, said, "It's over here." And then Radharani came up and said, "It's the same thing here." And but Krishna couldn't be, it was in his four-arm form. And when Radharani came to him, he just couldn't, he just had to have his two-arm forms. That was really nice. Shows reciprocation in that sense.
That's nice, yeah, because
Yeah.
that it shows the gopis, shows Radharani's superior bhakti.
Mm.
And Krishna couldn't hide from Radharani. He had this four-armed form, and he dropped two of his arms as soon as Radharani came.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And that's Radha Bhakti is the highest. Cannot be explained, cannot be understood, can only be experienced by Krishna. Well, you'll never understand Radharani's love.
Mm.
Just accept it.
Mm. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Sridevi Mataji.
Guru Maharaj, today's class has been so interesting and so thought-provoking. You said two things in the class that stood out for me. You said you can talk to Krishna. Then Shilpesh Prabhu said, not Shilpesh, Diptesh Prabhu was reiterating what you said, that Krishna is a person. As you were speaking all these things, I was remembering a Christian friend of mine who's a deeply devotional personality, and she was relating about how in a very busy airport, she lost one earring. And she was feeling so bad because it was a precious gift given by someone very beloved to her. And she started praying, "My dear Lord, please help me find the earring. It is so important for me to find this." And then as she was praying, she was feeling that she must walk back the way she came. And she said, "You will not believe this. I took a few steps and there was the earring fallen down. I picked it up and I put it back." Now in a busy airport where so many people are walking up and down, that how she found that earring is just quite amazing actually. And then she said, the Lord, she didn't know he's Krishna, but she said, the Lord cares about little things also, and he helps. So I'm just curious about, should we pray to Krishna if we lose things like that and say, "Krishna, please help me find." It's a material thing, isn't it?
That's up to you. Yeah, like my diary. We still can't find my diary. So
Guru Maharaj, I'm not giving up. I'm still trying to follow the trail. I'm still trying to make inquiries. I cannot believe it can just disappear. It just got to be somewhere.
okay, we'll pray. 'Cause it's the only piece that's missing out of all of those years for 23 years. It's that one section for 9 months. And Namrata is working on that section right now. So if you finish it, he asked me why isn't the year 2017 finished? And I said, well, that's a good question. So you'll make Namrata very happy if you can find it.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I'm trying to find it. I'm following up all clues actually, and I'm looking everywhere. I picked up the box of books that I had left with Srimati, brought it back. I'm looking through that.
Okay.
I'm going to follow the trail back. I'm going to visit all the homes where my friends put my things when I was away and really try to unearth the bags where, I mean, there's a lost bag somewhere. It's not just the book. I think there's a lost bag because some of my other things are missing too. I thought they were with Srimati, but they are not. So I suspect that one whole bag has been misplaced.
Okay. Keep trying. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class and your association again. So Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. His Holiness
Jai.
Candramauli Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you very much. And tomorrow's iffy, but we'll have Srimati can just stand by with. But I'll try my best to make it tomorrow. It's a little difficult.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Yeah, sure.
I have so many things going on here, but so we'll try.
And
Okay.
Sunday too, Guru Maharaj, you are also not.
Sunday, no, Sunday won't work.
Okay.
Monday should be okay.